I'm Bente, Innovation Catalyst at Axel, a company at which I've worked at for 7 years. For the past 2 years, I've been dealing with innovation, how we can enforce it systematically, and get our employees' voices heard. The reason that it's so important to already think about adjusting your product to Gen Z, obviously, first one is the older generation is not going to be reading our products forever. And if we position ourselves now in a way that Gen Z understand, they can trust us and they can actually use the product beneficially to them, then you pave the way for younger generations being like loyal subscribers. So thinking how you can balance your content best, I think is also a super relevant question. I would like to pose the question, do you really need to balance it? Like, is that something that makes sense for your brand? Like, if you are only targeting people 60 and up, are you going to alienate them by suddenly trying to diversify your portfolio in a way that doesn't make sense? So I think that needs to be a very, very strategic decision. But secondly, if you are, I think it makes sense to think of your different channels and really see where do you place what. So again, it's not to alienate the rest of the audience. So if you still have like the classical print, for example, you don't need to put Gen Z articles in there, whereas perhaps on social media it might make more sense. And then lastly, also seeing how do your newsrooms, how are they split in regards to the people writing. So maybe it makes sense also to have younger authors write articles for younger people, but not fully separate those two, because then you might again alienate your audience because you have two so different brands that no one really relates to you anymore at all. The one thing I think news publishers can do to, the one takeaway, the one final thing to do if you want to address Gen Z, I think as much as it seems superficial, listen to your younger colleagues, because they will have a lot of the things I'll say. They might even say better things because, they are in your country, based to your brand, like tied to your brand. So listen to your younger colleagues. And the thing that you maybe should avoid at all costs is really trying too hard to be young when you're not. I think the worst thing to alienate someone from a brand is really putting out cringe content that no one really relates to, and you don't want to become a laughingstock in all of that. So when you start transferring your content to a younger audience, make sure that it is still in line with what the younger audience actually want, as opposed to making you a laughingstock of basically every generation because you missed the mark fully.